The Invictus Games, the wounded veterans charity Harry, founded in 2014, now sits on a public record that the Vancouver and Whistler edition this winter cost roughly $118,000 United States dollars per participating veteran. And the royal commentator Hilary Forwich, on the record this month, has put the question on the desk Harry's office cannot duck. Is the Duke of Sausages using the Invictus Games as a tax write-off, and is he making money off the backs of veterans? So today we are covering the Invictus per participant cost figure the Birmingham Organizing Committee is now absorbing. The Radar Online leak floated on Monday evening on the so-called new version of Harry the British public is supposed to take seriously. The Edward and Sophie Portugal tour opening on Monday on the working royal calendar, and the hard breakfast clip in which the Prince of Wales closes the working royal contrast of the week. Welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Let's get down to it. So, let me start with the Vancouver and Whistler number, because the receipt on this one is the cleanest the spring has produced on the sausage portfolio, and it's concerning. IB Times UK ran the piece earlier this month. The figure on the public record is 63.2 million Canadian dollars on the cost of hosting the 2025 Invictus Vancouver and Whistler Games. The competitor count on the operating files is 543 veterans. So the arithmetic is the part the brand team cannot brief away. Roughly 118,000 United States dollars on the operating budget for every single veteran who actually competed. So for the comparison column, the United States Warrior Games, the closest equivalent in scale and mission, runs at roughly $2 million a year on the whole program. The German equivalent operates at roughly $200,000. So the Canadian taxpayer on the road are roughly $30 million of the Vancouver and Whistler total. The corporate sponsorship column carried the rest. And the line Hilary Forwich put on the public record in the same piece is the one the sausage office is going to be absorbing this morning. In Forwich's exact phrasing, the question I have is, does Prince Harry use the Invictus Games as a tax write-off, and is he making money off the backs of veterans? If he's not, there should be full disclosure that he is not. Show us that he is not profiting. Yeah, that is quite an accusation. Tax write-off of the backs of veterans. And he should prove that he is not profiting from all this. That is a royal commentator on the record on the line the Birmingham 2027 Organizing Committee is going to be asked about at every sponsor pitch from this morning through the opening ceremony in July of next year. And the sausages spokesperson on the question, absolute silence, of course. And speaking of briefings, the sausage office did not push back on. Let me tell you what landed on the wires on Monday evening. Radar Online carried across the AOL syndication on Monday the 25th and recirculated by the News Pakistan desk yesterday morning ran an exclusive source to multiple insiders close to Montecito Manor. In the source's exact language, Harry appears determined to create a new version of himself within British public life, one that exists outside the formal machinery of the monarchy but still carries the weight and visibility of his royal background. Yeah, I pretty much doubt it. That's going to be difficult because I don't know that Harry even knows who he really is, much less he can, I don't know, go for a new version of himself outside the formal machinery, carrying the weight and visibility of the royal background. the background that he ran from. The same Harry whose New Statesman op-ed 2 weeks ago lectured a country he does not live in on the rise of anti-Semitism without naming Hamas, October the 7th, or the Wood Green Crown Court terror docket. The same Harry whose own first cousin Peter Phillips has, in the briefing the Phillips wedding office gave Hello magazine the week before last, not spoken to him for several years and has, in plain language, simply lost touch. The same gingerbread who is presently a defendant on the Centre Valley defamation docket in the London High Court. So the source continues on the same piece that Harry wants his opinions on major social and political issues to still matter in Britain. Okay, so that is the man on a Californian estate, 6,000 miles from the country whose passport he uses only to fly into Heathrow on his own schedule, on the record through an insider line floated to an American tabloid, telling the British public it is supposed to take the next Ukraine speech, the next anti-Semitism column, the next paid environmental keynote as commentary that matters. This is only to put a foot again in the UK. This is all of it. So the British public on the polling after the Australian tour last month has already given the answer. Which brings us to the working royal calendar that opens on Monday. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Prince Edward, the King's youngest brother, and his wife Sophie, fly to Portugal on Monday morning on a 3-day official state visit. The trip is the first British royal visit to Portugal in 15 years. The last working royal couple on Portuguese soil were the King and Queen when the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall in 2011. So GB News carried the trip announcement yesterday. The British Embassy in Lisbon released a new formal portrait of Edward and Sophie commissioned by photographer Millie Pinkington. And Edward and Sophie travel between Lisbon and Porto across 3 working days. And the headline historical anchor is the 640th anniversary of the Treaty of Windsor, the 1386 Anglo-Portuguese alliance that is on the public record of the British and Portuguese foreign offices, the oldest active diplomatic alliance in the world, and 640 years of British-Portuguese diplomatic continuity on the working royal calendar in 3 working days on the ground. That is amazing. So the thematic line is youth opportunity, sport inclusion, and the women, peace and security agenda the Duchess of Edinburgh has been working on as a foreign office champion across the back half of her working calendar. No motorcade for a marmalade SKU, no off-site kitchen, no 4-year-old in a coordinated outfit on a United Nations plaza for the merchandise camera. No, just the work. And let me close on the morning radio clip of the British comment sections have been recirculating since the weekend. The Prince of Wales sat down with the Hard Breakfast show last Friday morning. The conversation drifted to the Princess of Wales' solo 2-day overseas visit to Reggio Emilia the week before, on which Catherine, in conversation with her northern Italian nursery children, introduced herself in Italian under the diminutive Caterina. The Hard Breakfast presenter on the broadcast told William she had no idea Catherine spoke Italian, and William's response on the recording, in his exact wording, "I did it actually. She must have dusted that off from a while ago." And he continued on the question of the Princess of Wales' lifelong work and early childhood. She is a proper pro on early years. And on the question of how the household has been operating through her cancer treatment and her recovery year, we couldn't cope without her. And on the Reggio Emilia tour itself, so proud, very, very proud. I'm very sure that William is absolutely proud of Catherine. So proud of her. That is the heir to the throne on a British morning radio broadcast last Friday, talking about his wife in the language of a husband. who has been present for the working calendar his wife actually keeps. And on the same week, the insider leak on the so-called new version of Harry is being filed by his own brother's office through a Californian back channel to an American tabloid. Yeah, I had to make the comparison, because the contrast in one frame writes itself. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. Much love and bliss.